You ready to go?
Well, whatever. Either. Oh, there we go.
Okay. Good morning. Today is March 15th, 2023. The time is now 9:02 a.m. I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. I will call this meeting of the Board of Commissioners to order. And if you would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Oh, and the honor to. I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. If you join me for the invocation. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning, Lord, and we thank you for this beautiful day that you have given us. We thank you for this opportunity that we have to come together and take care of the business of the county. We ask, Lord, that as we meet, that you would be with us, that you would guide this meeting. We ask, Lord, that you would direct us and guide us. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. Okay, if we could get a roll call, okay.
Commissioner Day,
Here.
Commissioner Canada.
Here.
Commissioner Flowers.
Present.
And Clerk to the Board, Kelly Camper, present.
And audience introductions. We'll start with you, Jordan.
Gordon Benson, IT.
Jennifer Creed, admin. Daily Day, Wetmore. See helping, Wetmore.
Carl Wilson, Road and Bridge.
All the song, Road and Bridge.
All right, and then I think we have some people online. If anybody goes to speak later, if you could identify yourself for the record, that would be great. Any amendments to the agenda this morning?
Yes, sir. None here.
Okay. We have no minutes today. I'm disappointed.
I know, so.
We were on a roll here.
The fun is starting to come back.
Betting on that horse and that horse race, and it just petered out right before the finish line.
Exactly.
Stumbled in the
Don't
back.
give up on me yet, Bill.
All right, commissioner items. Commissioner Kanda.
Okay, a couple things. We'll be talking about the attorneys, and so I won't mention anything on that right now. I've been working a lot on that, so we'll work that when the agenda item comes up. Was working with the OEM director, Robin Knappy, and we're looking at a congressionally directed spending grant. And we put an oar in the water. We'll see if we're qualified for it. We can get together at the board and decide what we want to do with it. But it's for a OEM operations center, a building, and the staffer did talk to us about it because he remembered us applying last year, and that's why he was interested in seeing if we had anything else this year. And we got a quote Robin did from a local contractor on what a OEM building of an X size, and was probably located to be determined, but maybe it's near the SAR building, for example. And got a bid or a rough estimate of about $900,000. So the grant will be about $1 million roughly. We'll see what they approve if we get to go forward. So that's good news to see what happens there. And then the airport did get the contract awarded for the crack seal finally, and it will be done before May, I think is what it's looking like. And it was awarded to the company in Salida, Pavement Maintenance Incorporated. And they were the ones that didn't have the time to work on it last year, if you remember, and they're the closest one, and they were the highest bid. Well, they're really the lowest bid right now. It was $29,000, and the other closest two that put in bids were $100,000 each. So they're meaning to help and work with us. So looks like a good deal. Save a little money and get that done fine. Also, the grant was awarded, I think I mentioned this before, for the fuel tank and the ramp project for the, and so that's been approved, worked it through aviation Department of CDOT. And finally, sat through a meeting on Saturday that Charles Vogel had sponsored with the, I'm not sure what the acronym stands for, but it's the Colorado Office of County Economic Support Group in there. They help communities like counties as well as the municipalities work on their strategic plan and getting them, helping them apply for grants and that kind of thing. So it was interesting sitting through that. And the reason I did is because I was asked to be there by some people that were concerned about the trailer park in Silver Cliff being bought and other things are going on, economic development, housing. So I just sat in on it. It was interesting. I'll give you the details, but that's in your wheelhouse, I think. That's all I got for now. I'll probably think of a few other things as usual.
All right.
Over to Tom.
Commissioner Flower.
Thank you, sir. I did attend the Custer County Kids Council meeting at the school library on the 9th. And I've been working on submitting the RFP for the sidewalk project on the west side of the county building. It's ready to go. I should have had it on the agenda today and I failed to do that. I am waiting on one statement of insurance for the disadvantaged business enterprise language that CDOT requires to be put on all RFPs that involve state CDOT assisted projects. So I'll probably put that on the 30th. We were hoping to get it done and get it out in the next week or so, but I'm not sure it's worth trying to do it today, so I will have that on the agenda for the next meeting.
All right.
That's all I have, sir.
All right. I sat in the other day on one of the 2 days of the CCI legislative updates. They also had, speaking of the trailer parks, mobile home parks, part of one of the bills going through under land use is the water quality. It pertains to water quality in the mobile home parks. And if they do not meet the standards and do not upgrade, basically this bill would say that the counties would have to take those parks over, they'd be declared a public nuisance. And then the county would be on the hook for the upgrades to the water systems to make them come up to standards.
Even if they're in a municipality.
That wasn't clear. So but I know that they specifically were mentioning that the counties would have to take those over, but I do not know if they fall within city limits on that. So that is one of the big things that I kind of took away from that. That could possibly pertain to us. And then I think that's the only thing I'll bring up from that. I did sit in on a call yesterday from Brittany Peterson. And there also have a call today, if we're done in time, I'm going to sit in on, which has to do with the community project funding. And through her office we could submit through there. This meeting today is in regards to some of the differences between requests that are put in to the House or to the Senate. There are different requirements to those. So I was going to try to sit in on that meeting. And then I did not make that Granicus meeting the other day. But I did go back and listen to that the other day and possibly some good things in there, some things I don't think that we need or anything like that as well. So that might be a discussion if we decide to look at something like that. And then I guess I would just let everybody know that we are having a breakfast here on Saturday morning. Our Whitmore Community Church is putting on the top of the morning breakfast. So if anybody wants to come down and eat pancakes and bacon and sausage, feel free to be here. It starts at 8 o'clock. That is all that I have this morning.
I have a second after all.
I knew you'd come up with something.
I got two things that were critical. One was, when I talked about the congressionally directed spending, the Hickenlooper wants to meet at Pathfinder Park, and you need to block out April 13th, and I'll let you know what day they choose, but it'll be one of those 2 days. Come down and talk to Fremont County, Custer County, and Teller County. It's not a town hall, it's a meeting on what our issues are. It has nothing to do with congressionally directed spending. We can't lobby him. It's really him trying to understand where we are, what we're doing, and what we need from a federal point of view, and his help. So that either 13th or 14th, and as soon as they nail it down, I'll send out a note. And he wants 25 people is all. It's going to be limited, commissioners, and we'll see who else we want to invite. So let's think about that. That ought to be there, maybe public health, airport, maybe, who knows? Let's give it some thought and decide who we want to take down there, because the 3 counties and 25 people, about 8 people apiece. So something like that, we'll see. The other one was airport wise. Bob McDonald his father is in bad health, and he's in Ireland. That's where he's living. And so Bob is going to take a leave of absence from the airport board and managing. And he's going to, he will not take on the billet for the operations. He'll come back as a board member after. Going to take a 6-month leave of absence. So we will have to continue it. We have the ad in the paper already, right? We getting any hits on it yet?
I don't know, that would be a person.
So we will have a bona fide interview and process to hire an airport manager. So that's the 2 items.
All righty,
I'm done.
last call. Okay. Jennifer, do you have anything for us this morning? All right. Public comment. So if anyone has a comment they'd like to make on anything that's not on the agenda, please feel free to do so at this time. Anybody online, sir? Okay,
Can I make a comment?
you may.
There's some things that I need to do with my voting system. Our scanner, when we have those big, long 17-inch ballots, like we'll probably have in November 24th, it doesn't pull them right, and so I need a new scanner. And there's been some updates to legislation from last year, that when people vote on the voting machine and it prints out that prints out your ballot, but it just lists, it gives you a list of who you voted for. Now it has when it prints it out, it has the look like the ballot. So we have to update those, update those printers. So I actually met with Dominion yesterday, because I didn't know how that was gonna work, because I have this year left in my contract and next year. And so we went over the contract, and the Secretary of State's office is actually gonna do a grant for the printers that we have to have. So that will help with that.
Or how expensive are they? you know?
I haven't got that bid yet. He was gonna get that and send it to me in the next day or two here. So I'm not sure how expensive those are
Are
gonna
they
be.
Dominion printed and
I would have had,
do they? do-
well, they're not I mean, Dominion doesn't make equipment,
Right,
so
so whether it be whatever they got that does that kind of thing.
yes, yeah. So, we're looking at, amending my contract. And what would happen is I would pay in January the last of my contract that I'm in now, which is 21,000. I would, but also in January, it would roll over and start me in my new contract. And so I would get all new equipment in June of this year, including the printers and the scanner that I need. And going forward, instead of the 21,000 a year, it's gonna go down to 17,000 a year, because I've already paid for all of my software. And so I won't have to pay for my software again, because those just get free updates. And all of the new equipment has absolutely no internet or Bluetooth or wireless capabilities within it.
So you're finishing up this contract in January, 21,000.
Yeah.
When does it
it'll-
really
it'll
run out? Does it
go-
run out?
It runs out the end of next year,
The end of 24.
24, yes.
That's that contract. Then it from 25 on, it's 17. In a new
Yes.
contract.
Yes,
But your equipment, say your scanner will show up this
in
year?
June of this year.
Okay.
And then, I have to pay for those two printers. But then I'll apply for grant and get reimbursed for that. So. And I think it's a 100% reimbursement. Sort of thing. It was a have to thing.
Nice to have funding.
So I just wanted to bring you guys up to date on that, and, the gentleman that I'm working with at Dominion, he said he would be happy to talk to any of you that if you wanted to talk to him about it. Just let me know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right. Okay. I have no unfinished business. New business. First item that we have is a consideration of the RFP for the on-call maintenance contract.
Okay, I spent a lot of time over the last week and it made life miserable for Denver as well. We did a great job of printing this up over the phone and over personally, over working it. So thanks, Jennifer. So the RFP, you got the first copy of it here. This is what we would publish. And it says print ad on the top of it. So this is taking all the comments that we all had the other day and also scrutinizing the contract itself with the fixes we did the other day as well. Also, I had discussed this with many contractors to get their input on whether they're interested in something like that, to get a feel for the scope, or whether they would be willing to consider it. As well as talking about certain things that they saw or thought that should be in a contract. So use their comments as well to update this contract. The contract doesn't have to be completed entirely until we get, ready to sign it. We've got time to modify it, see other reasons. But the intent is, if you, without going through the details in detail here, at the end of this second page, you can see the timeline. And the timeline starts with today, basically, we're gonna publish this thing. And then if we like what we see here to publish, I would like to get approval for this today from us, and with other, maybe if there's a quick fix on something, we'll discuss that. But anyway, starts on the 23rd, a bidders conference, looked like it would be. If in order to get this to run for 3 weeks, which I think would be a good thing to do, because what I'd like to do is not only get it into the papers, but she's gonna publish it on the websites. And on the website, there'll be a bit of longer description of what's expected. That's in the part of the packet too. It's not complete. We're going to finish working on that. And a sample of the contract as well.
Which document are you looking
Well,
at?
I'm looking, if you go down deeper, there's 2 other documents. One says Custer County, it's not the right name, but on.
One you have pulled up is the one you just referred to.
So that will be put online. So they can read it in more detail. It's not gonna be published in the paper. But at the bidders conference, we will hand out a detailed one as well. We will also hand out a sample, or not a sample, but blank contract, so they know what the contract looks like that they would be bidding to take, signing up to if they take on this project. And that would be the bidders conference on April 10th. That gives 3 weeks to get her out, and I'd like to have, if we can find email addresses for most of the contractors in the county, who can send an email to them. I found out, believe it or not, there are several contractors that don't take subscriptions to the newspaper, don't want them. Don't have a computer, they don't take the time to go looking at the website. So we'll probably ought to email if they've got a computer, and if they don't, we'll send them out. We got an address with it. It's products.
This time on this one's on.
The RFP, almost
Sorry, document.
should be the top one. It didn't.
If you're looking online.
I'm
And
looking in a board packet, yeah.
yeah, it should say, so. Would be A, it's the 3rd one down, A, on-call maintenance RFP.
And it's, that's really not the name, it's really the maintenance contract, but it is on call, and that's part of the contract as well. Not 24 hours a day, something happens in a building, and call this number and they will respond. And so the next thing after the bidders conference would be a deadline for questions. If they have questions for us to clarify or have to issues that we would answer and make sure the answer is set out to all of the contractors that participate. Then the deadline for the submittals for the contract or bids would be on the 25th of April. Then we get down to the short lists, we may, and this may or may not be necessary, we don't necessarily have to have a meeting, we just open bids up and decide what our criteria is. By the way, in the packet, you got the criteria is pointing to the packet that has the selection criteria.
That would be the on-call. The one with the logo on it.
This one.
And
So you go toward the back, you'll see the selection criteria for
and so it's the second to last page. And it has a chart on it.
Second document in the packet.
looks like this. And it has the selection criteria. And we can talk about that if we think that, I think it's a pretty good spread. And when I did talk to them, they all understood that what they are bidding for is the management of this program. They can either also be part of if they were the skills in welding and general contracting and that kind of thing, they could also be the subcontractor, like a heating and HVAC guy would be time and materials only, and his obligation would be to do it, and he would bill the prime contractor, in this case, the guy managing it, and he would put together the invoices that would go to the county. We're only going to see one invoice for the project, whatever it is. Also, and here's the criteria. If it goes over, we're watching the budget, and so he's obligated to come to our meetings once a month and give us a status of his. We're going to tell him we have this much money for him to be paid during that year's period. By the way, it's a one-year contract with 4 years, options to renew. So it's a 5-year contract, basically.
Thought we agreed a 3-year.
I thought it was 4. It doesn't matter, we can change that if we wanted to go on a 4-year contract.
I remember 3 as well.
Well, okay, we can make it 3, that's fine. Yeah. So that makes it a 4-year contract, no big deal. Pending performance. But anyway, the selection criteria that we're basing it on his resume, his references, his ability, in our discussion at the bidders conference, he'll be telling us who his primary go-to guys are for the 4 major trades. And then, and as well as, there are other trades as referenced in here that could be, for example, a concrete guy or a septic system guy or whatever that he would go to if needed. And based on that, we would fill out this sheet and score the contractors. And then, as opposed to just looking at the price. Because you need to consider more than just what he's gonna bid, and what he would be bidding is for the year of his management time to be calling these contractors, dealing with paperwork, coming to our meetings and all that, and that'd be up to him to decide what that is. It could be his management time, whatever it is, it's contract. So we'll see what they bid.
On that sheet, the scoring sheet, you have criteria 1 through 10 and value. And then for the different line items under that, you've got the different values to equal 100%. What's the 1 through 10?
That's like if you rated it, his qualification for a perfect score would be 20, right? If you thought he was doing that weight, the weight is 20.
Okay.
If he was halfway, 50%, then his total score would be whatever that is.
So the scoring's 1 through 10, but to the weight is 20.
Right.
Okay, I follow now.
Okay. So what's important today, and we can go and we can have another meeting to make sure we all are up to speed on process procedures. But we need to get the RFP out on the street. If we can do that by next Wednesday or Tuesday, that was deadline. Get it in.
Tuesday morning, I would need it to be able to go into the newspaper. Anyway,
And that would be just this 2-page sheet. The RFP for the ad.
I see number 8 on the draft for online RFP says that it's a 12-month period. With options to each year upon evaluation for 3 years, at which time it will be recompeted.
Yeah, we have it different on the RFP.
That is the RFP.
well, the print one is.
Yeah, that was the print one, the Brent one, we didn't even say that. We should have.
3 years. It needs to say 3.
Oh, it does,
I'll make the correction.
yeah. Yeah, I see it, yeah, we did push one. It is 3 in the contract. And it's on the online RFP as well as 3, right? Yep, it's 3. Okay. Any other clarification questions?
So our only control over the price will be charged for any project will be how much money we have in the budget.
For the actual management contract,
for a job, a specific job, painting.
Oh, yeah, it would be, we agreed the other day that we would, and we need to set that, we have a maintenance pot set, I think 18,000, whatever it was today. Whatever we want to give them to do that for the year, what we think is based on our experience with the conditions. By the way, on that bidders conference, we will take them to each of the buildings so they can see what's ahead of them. But yeah, Tom, it would be that amount of money that we want to let them have access to and be reporting on to us. We're not going to give it to them. We're going to have them bill, put an invoice in for us to pay. But, and we'd have to watch it because, if you think about it, how much does a sheet of plywood cost today? If it's $100, it was up to 70 or whatever it's been. Crazy. 10 sheets doesn't get you too much for $1,000. It depends on what our, that's why it's important for us to have them reporting to us in time so that we can decide how to move money around or not fix things. It's our decision when they propose, come in here and say, we need to do this. However, they will make a recommendation on if money's tight. And it looks like we can get by and limp along on a repair on this one and move it later. That'll be our decision. He's not going to be doing that. We're going to let him, that contractor, whoever it is, come to us with a recommendation on the repairs. But they got to fix the immediate needs, like a leak in a building, a blown open door, freezing pipes or whatever. And then we'll have to deal with how that's depleting our supply. Then, if it's an act of God issue and it's in the contract as well, then they will be responsible for pulling together a bid on the actual repair on a whole system that would be above whatever the cost is. It's a roof that has a big hole and needs $50,000 worth of work. You'll have to get bids for us to decide what we're going to do with it. And at that point, we also have the option to make a decision. We don't have to select a contractor. It depends on how we ask them to put together the RFP. That depending on cost, we'll see what they're proposing for the repair and whether we can afford that or not, take it out of capital improvement or out of the general fund. We have complete control. We're not turning over a blank check except for the minor repairs. And we have that already in the fund.
So if it's not a major repair or act of God, something that should fall under the normal scope of work, and the contractor hasn't paid enough attention and he goes over the budget, who's on the hook for that?
We won't let him go over the budget because he has to, and that's part of the criteria.
Well,
and that if he has to be accountable for maintaining that pot.
So if he overspends that pot,
But the point is,
the point is, if he overspends that pot inadvertently, or so if things are getting close and then, so he's got $1,000 left and he spends $2,000, who's on the hook for that extra 1,000?
that would be us because it's our program. Now, but there's safeguards against that. Okay.
Okay, that's,
And the safeguard is he has to come in here once a month and report or sooner. He has to be the guy that's looking at the major repairs and he knows the conditions of the buildings and he knows that if he spends it, we will not let him exceed that without having us talk to him. So in other words, he'll have to come in and say, I've got a $2,000 repair. I've only got $1,000 left. What do you want me to do?
well, that's what needs to happen.
Right.
But if he doesn't, so I can see a situation to where we might be getting close and then there's 2 or 3 things that pop up all at the
You would
same
have to
time.
come to us.
And, okay, but if he doesn't, in the RFP, and I believe in the contract, it states that he needs to be able to manage that, his budget or to stay within it.
Right.
If he does not,
Then you fire him
well,
and we can.
but who's on the hook for that extra?
That's an issue you have in any.
I would like to see that written into the contract to where if if he doesn't follow the criteria he's supposed to and he overspends, that's on him.
that can be done.
Just
And-
because I
and I
can
think
see
it
that
is.
happening.
Actually, maybe, can't remember how the language was. But yeah, that's easy. That's a good one.
Yeah, because, you know, in a perfect world, that's not gonna happen, but we live in a far from perfect world and chances
So-
are it won't happen, but if it does, I think if he does not follow the criteria he's supposed to, that should be on him.
Okay, so the criteria is what then? How does it work?
Because he is supposed to be staying within the confines of the budget given to him,
All right.
correct?
If he overspends our total budget. That's
So
coming out of
if-
his
Right,
pocket.
so what will happen, and we have to word it correctly, Kevin, is he's got 1,000 left, we know he's only got 1,000 left, and if we're tracking it smartly, and we see issues that the buildings are, and he's gonna be reporting on things that he thinks are gonna come up as part of the criteria. Then there's a choice, he can say, I'll stop, I won't do this until you guys figure out where we're either gonna stop repairing things for now, or we're gonna replenish it with another 5,000 to get through the year, whatever.
Mhm.
What could happen is another leak, a small repair pops up that has to be fixed. That could cause it to overspend. But we would have to allow in that language, why I'm bringing it up, to have that happen. We can't let it not be fixed. And then we would have to in arrears, okay that and let that be paid. It wouldn't be his fault
No.
necessarily. You know what I'm saying?
But he would know if it was gonna kick him over budget and it's a simple,
Right,
it's a
immediate.
simple phone call to at least
That's
address
exactly
his point
right.
of contact. To get an okay for that.
And that's how we would, and that was the intent when we do tell him, here's the budget you have to stay in, and you cannot exceed this. If it looks like you are, you're obligated. And I told him, in cases like that, there's opportunities to have us have a special meeting. We don't have to wait for a regularly scheduled meeting. And he can call that, give it to us, and then if we have to act on it as a board, then we'll call a special meeting.
Mhm.
Or,
So,
or whoever the managing commission will be Tom, and if he sees it's, there's not even time for that, then it's
Yeah.
fine to do it.
but I think I would personally like to see something in there to make him accountable. That falls
I
under
like
the management oversight number 8,
Right,
where he's to work within the budget for routine maintenance and small repairs. Major repairs, he's got to come to us anyway, so,
yeah, nothing wrong.
so I would like to see verbiage to that effect to where if he goes outside of the budget without approval, that he's responsible for that, not the county.
Sure,
That was the main thing I think that I have here right now on it.
yeah, we can, and we'll work on that on the contract as well. So let's go back to the RFP then.
Print that one.
Get the print ad one, because that's the important thing to kick off this schedule. And we can update the contract and put out another copy. Take a look at.
So this would be 3 years, no 4.
Yeah. Why? Brain. The contract. we can- Okay.
And so the annual cost for the management fee is gonna come out of our regular budget for maintenance and repair.
Right,
And
and then,
then whatever's left is hard dollars to do the work.
you're looking at the, you're talking about the management contract itself, so there's 2 different things here now, we gotta figure out how we're gonna handle it, and that's why when I brought it up initially. We were looking at how do we fund the management of this, this is like another. It's not part of the actual pot that you'd use to fix stuff. We're gonna have to decide how to fund the contract. And I could see it ranging in price from 10,000 to 30,000, depending on that. It's like a position. So That's why I was asking how we're gonna handle the custodial work and maintenance that we're already paying for a position on. So something to consider. I think we're gonna have to decide how to do that once we see what the costs are to manage it, we're gonna range from. And we could limit it. But I see it as a, almost like a part-time position. Because it's an actual,
Unless we don't need them on a particular,
right, the beauty of it is, if he's not. Well, that's true.
we're gonna pay them whether we need them or not, right? I mean, I think it would be unusual to go a whole year without needing them, but maybe we can place a hot water heater somewhere and paint a room, that's it. And then we're on the hook for whatever we agree to pay the management fee, correct? It won't be tied to how much work.
That's true, the management fee is there.
Yeah, I'm struggling with that a little.
We'll have to figure out how to handle that. It's like, well, it's like having a maintenance guy that nothing ever breaks and doesn't have to do anything. We're still paying today. And that's a different pot than just. Or we increase the maintenance pot to handle the management. We gotta pay for the. And it's pretty extensive to. Keep track of the buildings. Get the right guy there at the right time. Come to the meetings. Invoices. Manage it within the budget. It's a job.
Well, I'm glad to see we have a statement in there that allows us to reserve the right to reject any of these. We may not like to price any of them.
That's right. That's why I would like.
I'd struggle paying a middleman $30,000 a year to make arrangements with third-party contractors to come in and do some work.
That's right. Or he would do the work himself too. But you're right. That's why I think we need to figure out what it would be before we decide we want to go ahead. Sort of like when we were looking at we're gonna have to pay for somebody to do what we're doing together. Right now, what we're doing on these jobs is just like you've been doing, Tom. If something gets a hole in it, we go find a contractor to do it, and it's us doing it. So it's worth whatever it is to take our time away and free it up to do something else. And like writing an RFP once for a major thing, each one of us would have to grab that and do that. In this case, he would be accountable to do that work that we've been doing now. So that was the intent.
Yeah, it'd just be interesting to see how much money they think we should be paying them for a management fee. And we won't know that until we get there.
That's right. And you got the ability to
It's back.
not accept any of them. And then rescope it, change it, and redo it again. And we will know that after the, well, it would be what time? It would be as soon as the bidders conference is over and we get their questions in.
So they're due to be in on the 25th, according to this.
Yeah.
And
25th.
opened on the 28th.
So we have that luxury there is looking through it and finding out what the range is, what the amount was, and decide, well, this isn't worth it, or we can modify it.
Our April meeting's the 27th, right?
Oh,
28th's a Friday.
oh, yeah. Yeah, I think.
Well, I appreciate the work that went into this. I know it's not easy. I'm writing this RFP for that project and it's
hassle.
There's a lot involved.
Is it the 27th?
Yes, sir. Making-
Yeah, I guess we can come in on Friday and meet, but I won't be there. I'll call in, how's that?
I think it's easier to cross out an 8 instead of 7.
So, you know, my only concern, Commissioner Canada, would be, and we can't do anything about it, as I indicated, but I'm not interested in doubling our maintenance budget just to pay a management fee to have the work done. If that's what we have to do, then I guess that's what we have to do, but we have $18,000 budgeted this year for maintenance and repair. I don't know if it's enough or not, we'll have to see, but
Time we do this, it depends, what, have we got anything working right now? I don't think so. So. I don't even know what the balance is, you know, Brady.
so I don't, we'll just have to go through the process and see
Yeah.
how it shakes out. You know, you threw out a couple numbers. I'm not panicked about those, but I'll use one for an example. If the management fees $30,000 a year, that's a half-time position. I don't. In my 5 years, haven't seen anywhere near that kind of time and commitment being
Right.
made to maintenance and repair, but I'm not saying it's gonna be 30,000.
And I'll tell you how we can, and we make that clear too, that they all ask me, so what's the condition, how many times that you got something always going on every day? And in the bidders conference is where we say exactly what you just said, Tom. The bottom line is, it looks like, if somebody were to work it now, maybe it's 25%. Give them an expectation, so they're not. But they know that the buildings they're not falling apart, but they're not that great either. And that would be worth it, I mean, they, you know. And every one of them is looking at this as a part-time thing anyway, because they say, and there are several people that are retired. I've talked to a couple of them that have retired off of a big program that they've done all their life. I think they're interested in doing this, so it wouldn't hurt anybody's head, even the ones that are active, to if this is a 25% position, so be it. But we'll see what they did once they tour the thing, and we can control it. And then we can go back and say, okay, nice try. We're gonna limit it, see what you can do, and we'll get bids on X dollars. The manage.
Yeah, because if they end up doing the work, then they're pulling out of the fund for
That's correct.
for the actual work. And this is only for the management of that, which
That's correct.
to Tom's point is fairly minimal,
Possibly.
possibly, it varies. So,
Tell you what, but let's see what happens. If you don't try, you don't know.
so the changes I've made on this RFP form that we have is a change from 4 years to 3 years. We changed the selection shortlist date to April 27th.
Correct.
Yeah.
Are there any other changes? Not that I'm aware of.
All right, I move that we adopt this RFP or approve it, be published when? Wednesday, or Tuesday,
It would go, I would send it over as soon as it's approved, so then it would go in the next
Okay.
line, which would be the
With-
23rd.
with the
Says the
corrections that we
23rd, yeah.
put in. So we're ready to publish on the 23rd. And you'd get it in the. Oh,
There's a motion to,
1 second, sorry.
okay, no, go ahead. I was gonna look for a second. So I have a motion on the floor with a second to approve the RFP print ad document with the changes made here. Changing from 4 years to 3 years, and for the selection date to be April 27th. Any discussion on that?
Yeah, I guess my question would be, where are we gonna publish this, and should we be sending this to individual people, or is it incumbent upon them to get that? Typically, we would publish in newspapers, put it on the website, end of discussion. I would question us to be careful about sending it out via email to individual people. I don't know, I looked at Braden, maybe for some guidance there. I just don't know about the optics of us.
I'll tell you my experience, good question. My experience in putting out on major programs, military and commercial world. There are companies, they have their own publications. And it goes into all professional publications and it goes into the companies as well. And if there's a little company that's, like you said, it's that they hear about it by the paper or whatever, that's the other point. And I don't have a problem not putting it out to any.
Yeah, I just worry if we send it to company ABC and company XYZ didn't get it in an email and say, hey, why didn't I get a copy of it? He did.
But how did he know? So he found out somehow, so he would be at the
Right.
bidders conference anyway.
So I prefer just to do our standard thing and put it on the website and publish it in the papers and move forward, but I don't know.
I think you asked for some input there. Do you have any?
I think as long as it goes out publicly, I don't see a problem in trying to circulate it more individually, just because you want as many people as possible. And if you know somebody that would be good, I think it would be prudent to reach out to that person in case they don't see it in the paper. But I think just based on what I have seen and know, that as long as it's public, it would be an issue if we didn't put it out publicly and then just.
Yeah, we did.
I'd be for sure.
Or you can reach it better. We did that with the OE.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. That as long as we did make it in the newspapers and on our website.
And then when we say our website, is it also the Custer? It's more than just our website.
Right, I would go ahead and put it in to our Facebook. I would push it out to the community pages and make sure that it would also go to the towns. I have a group of people, the towns, Valley Strong, KLZR, both of, all of the newspapers. So I do that for every press release and every agenda. But then I would also make sure it gets put on our Facebook, push it out. So
Yeah, I'm good with that. Just wanted to bring it up.
I have something, Mr. Chair, I have a question. In this, I did put or email, but we did not, it does not specify if it needs to be sealed or not. Wanting to know if that is a requirement.
Yeah.
And then, so they shouldn't be emailing it to me, they need to either mail it or bring it in,
Because it's not sealed if it comes in on
That's
the
true.
email.
correct? Okay,
So-
so with your permission, I'm gonna remove or by email.
Is that in the RFP?
Yes, it is.
And then proposals to be submitted,
Questions can come by email
correct.
because the answers go to everybody.
Mhm. Yes, that would do. Proposals, sealed bids.
I would make a motion to amend the RFP by striking in that top paragraph, page 2, or by email at BOCC admin, and to insert at the bottom of this document, questions may be directed to BOCC admin at Custer County -gov or co.gov.
Yeah, because which is what she was doing up there.
And then, do you want me up at the top? Proposals to be sealed bid with, and then clearly identified on the envelope what it is.
Yeah, I mean, postmarked by it.
Thank you for bringing that up too. I'm
Yeah,
modifying the RFP I'm working on because I had the same thing. Can't submit a sealed bid to an email address.
that's right.
I would include that verbiage as far as the sealed bid, clearly marked. So I have a motion to amend the existing motion by striking or by email, adding questions may be submitted to BOCC admin at that address, and also inserting in that top paragraph, proposals to be submitted by sealed bid to Jennifer Cree, BOCC admin, clearly marked.
And I'll put in the name.
We need a second.
I do need a second.
I'll second that amendment.
Any discussion on that amendment?
Good amendment.
Okay, nothing online. Okay, those in favor of the amendment to the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Takes us back to our original motion to approve the RFP as modified. Any further discussion on that? Anything online? Okay, those in favor of approving the RFP print ad as modified signify by saying aye.
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 All right.
Motion carries.
One quick question, if I may, sir.
Yes.
So if we enter into an agreement with a contractor and at the end of a year, we can terminate that without allowing an option to renew, is that correct?
Correct, and there's a language in there to allow you to terminate it at any point.
Right.
During the year. And so depending on and that's why the language is, it will be renewed, option to renew pending review. If you're doing a lousy job,
And then per this contract that the request, the RFP, that the long one
Mhm.
with that verbiage in there. This will be a 1-year contract from the time of award, or is this going to run calendar year?
no, it's time of award. And the reason for that would be, you don't have an end of the year hassle. And it's a good thing that you did roll this into the mid-year, because it's after budgets are clear, and we can do our budget this next year we can do what we want with that maintenance budget. Now we can make it bigger for next year. We can, depending on what we do for the main manager position on this contract, and we can allocate the right funds.
Kevin,
Yes.
if you look on the schedule, even put on the gear review to be scheduled and put dates in there, so then that way, it can be put on a calendar. Yeah,
That would be the time to review the
right,
contract.
that would be when. it would
Unless
be-
we miss the dates for some reason. We have to postpone it.
We could plan that for whatever the BOCC meeting is, mid-month of the minute of the year,
Right,
whenever we get around.
or it could be a special meeting, but it is not RFP when the annual review would be.
Okay. Next item up on our agenda will be the consideration of the vacancy posting for the county attorney. In our previous meeting, we did move to post that job opening. We have since had some questions to address before that gets posted. And so that is why this is on the agenda today, so that we can get everything ironed out and get that job posted. Specifically, the question arises to, we had made a specific dollar amount for that posting. There have been some concerns voiced on that. And so I would open the floor for discussion on that.
Okay, let me kick it off and then, because I looked at this as exactly, we gotta discuss this because I got all kinds of input. I had Jennifer include the sample of contracts for different counties, couple of them, 2 different types. In addition, I talked to the chairman of the Colorado Attorneys, Colorado Association of County Attorneys, CACA. And he's the Weld County attorney as well, good guy. And he said there's several ways to post this, of course. He'll run it through his organization, we'll put it in the paper and all that. But everywhere I went, they suggested competing hourly rates and not a lump sum. And the reason for that was, and especially when I said, all we got right now, we were spoiled with Clint. And before that, John Naylor was here for years doing it, and I don't know what the agreement was for pay on him, whether it was a salary or whether it was by the applicant, what they were doing. But we don't need, and not all counties have an attorney sit in their BOCC. They use them on what is needed when cease and desist, lawsuits, whatever. And so they pay by the drink most of the time. And to have us expect somebody to be full-time for whatever $1,000, they kind of giggled every time I brought it up. And the reason was at $250 an hour, which is low for county attorneys. That's what's, I know that's what several of them are charging around our surrounding counties. They suggested doing it by the drink and paying and competing a stipend, maybe paying them a stipend. And then whatever the hourly rate would be after that. So it's something to think about as we're doing this. I also there's 2 other counties that are sending me sample contracts as well. And it's Weld County, or Weld County is where the chairman's from. Durango has a law firm that actually handles 4 or 5 counties. And so he was going to give me some sample contracts and what they competed with. So he's by the drink and he sits in Denver and does the Durango stuff. The Mesa County attorney is getting back. His name is Todd. And he was going to give me a sample as well. So we can have something else to discuss as well if we get that later. If we don't decide today. Or the option would be to go ahead and I think what we settle on we thought $4,000 a month. That came out to be whatever that, how many dollars that is. 48,000.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would move to rescind the action of the board, setting a figure of $4,000 a month to pay for a county attorney.
I'll second.
Okay, so I do have a motion on the floor to rescind our previous action taken that named $4,000 a month for our position of county attorney. Any further discussion on that? Anything from the room or online?
I think we need to do that.
That being the case, those in favor of rescinding our previous motion regarding the position of county attorney naming $4,000 a month, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Braden, do you have input for us here today?
I did send you a request for proposal that I stole from the town, so for their county attorney or for their municipal attorney.
I did just upload that, by the way, into your packet.
Great, thank you. Sorry, I didn't get that to you sooner. I just saw that this morning, so. It seems like there's a good template there to go off of. Some of the details we would probably need to edit here and there, just as far as what the duties are, and I think that would be good discussion to be had either here or workshop or whatever seems the most efficient. Just to truly understand what it is we're looking for in an attorney. What we expect, no less than X number of hours or no less than X number of meetings, or I think to have kind of a baseline of what we actually expect from an attorney would be a really good discussion to have. As far as the per hour or per month or anything like that, I would really let the market set it. I don't think we need a 9 per hour dollar amount, or we need a per month dollar amount. The way that RFP is set up, it just asks for hourly a schedule or how they're expecting to be compensated. So I think that would give us a lot of freedom, and it also, similar to conversations we were having previously for the previous RFP, was saying that whatever comes in, we don't have to accept that specifically. We can kind of in the interviews and do a rebuttal and say, well,
And we can modify it based on our interviews or what we just hear.
Right.
Say, how about this and stuff? It's a negotiation.
because I think we ought to give the opportunity for somebody to come in and only charge $2,000 a month if they wanted to. Or
If they're not doing anything in a month, if they go to one meeting, it's $200.
Right. And
For
so
their hourly time.
we can kind of see what creativity somebody can come up with, and then we can kind of decide what we want to base that on based on our needs. But I think we do need to talk about baseline needs before we put that out.
Yeah, I would agree. The scope of services is gonna drive the whole thing, right? If we do a sorry job of writing that up, then they're gonna throw a figure against the wall and see if we bite. And if we have an accurate, comprehensive scope of services, then
Yeah, you
I
can
think
see,
we'll get a much more realistic bid from anybody.
you can see on those two contracts I sent you guys, the scope's pretty big. Of course, in a big town, it's different.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, when we write this, I really like the language in a couple of those that indicated the size of the county, the population, to give them some sense of,
Right.
are they gonna be, functioning at a high level for 50 or 80,000 people in the county or not? And then I think we really need to take a hard look at the number of meetings that we expect the attorney to physically be present at.
Yeah, I was
I
thinking
don't think
about,
it's realistic to
is.
expect them to be off.
we were lucky we came, but bottom line is if we stumble into something that we really gotta have an input, all we gotta do, there's nothing that urgent that it had to be settled in the meeting. If we just say, here, take a look at this, can we send this out on this vacating a line thing or whatever it might be. Let them make up, spend a half an hour and charge us $100.
So.
Yeah, because from out of town, excuse me, sir, but travel time's gonna be wrapped into
That's
that
the
as
other
well. So we ask them to come to a meeting, we're gonna be paying them,
That's right.
$250 an hour just to get there. So this day and age, I'm not sure that it's critical that they be
And
those meetings in person. They
And
can
we got
Zoom
to
in.
zoom in.
Yeah.
But then as time zooming and we gotta.
Sure, but we're
So
not
we
paying
would
travel.
we don't, that's right.
So sounds to me like we got quite a few questions that we need to iron out before this gets posted.
Oh, I agree with that.
So I would be willing to set up a meeting slash. I would like to have a meeting and a workshop to where we could work a workshop and then come out of that and make a motion to get this posted.
You got a date in mind?
I'm available, I believe.
Anytime.
Yeah. I guess we could work,
Their check with you, admin.
my personal admin or,
Personal admin.
okay. So we've got the AOP meeting on the 20th, Monday, from 10 to 11. So we're all gonna be in West Cliff. You guys are there all the time anyway. So that would be Monday. Would you guys be available, say Monday afternoon to work through this?
Mhm.
Which money?
The 20th?
So, I mean,
1 o'clock-ish. I don't expect that DFPC meeting to go past.
You know,
I'm surprised it did, but 1 o'clock should. be
Yeah, let's do it
fine.
after that.
so do we want 1:30?
Yeah.
What's the pleasure?
One.
Yeah, I'm good with one.
Okay,
So we're gonna have a workshop and then followed by a meeting,
yes.
session meeting.
Well, that will be, need to be posted as a workshop and then a special BOCC meeting following,
can you
Just make it one.
put a time on the meeting? Cause I will have to attend the meeting.
so if we start the workshop at 1, it's gonna be at least 2,
2:30 or
2, I'm gonna say probably 2:30, if we set it at 2:30. And hopefully we'll be ready for it. If not, I guess we'll
It
holler at you when we get ready to
shouldn't be that.
Yeah,
to do that
so
meeting.
just a thought.
Are you available for that?
I am, I'm just thinking that because it's a meeting, you're gonna have to give it a time.
Yeah.
Right.
Because-
Unless-
yeah, Because
Well,
you
so,
can't, I don't think you can, like, if your workshop only takes 15 minutes, and
Right.
people are expecting the meeting at
2:30.
2:30 and they don't zoom in, they're gonna be upset.
What we can do is make the whole thing.
Unless we roll it. The meeting portion of it, just wait and make a decision on the 30th.
We could do that and not have,
Think we're under.
I would recommend doing that.
I'd like to get an attorney on board, but. It may,
Because irrespective, I think we still need to agree that we, in the meantime, if an attorney item comes up, we need to reach out to somebody. Whoever it is.
yeah, it's 2 weeks, so.
I suppose if we need to, we can call a special meeting after that workshop that we could have within 2 days if we needed to.
Yeah, I'm okay with not having a special meeting tied to it, just have a workshop.
Mr. Chair.
But 1 second, I think you looked like you had a comment, sir.
Well, possibly, maybe just doing a quick call-in meeting Tuesday morning or something like that. And it would just, this would be the only item of business. And then we could get it into the paper next week. Otherwise, we're waiting 2 weeks to get it into the paper.
Right. Now, I've got on the 21st, I got a meeting at 9, 1:30, 2, and 4:30.
Can't do that.
You say you're not available Tuesday.
But we could do it Thursday, have a special meeting on Thursday too, so, or Wednesday, either one. Then we know we have an exact time.
Which day?
Just Tuesday,
This Thursday.
Tuesday.
by
not
Tuesday
this
morning,
Monday.
we'll get it in the paper that week. So just push it back.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
And I have a question.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot about you after.
I was just curious if you could, just put a time, for the meeting at 3 o'clock, and then if in the event you all aren't finished, then you could just start the meeting and continue the discussion in the meeting. That could be one option, or two, could you make, the meeting at 1 o'clock recess to go into the workshop and then come back and make a vote. That way, then we wouldn't have to. So just throwing out. some
Well,
ideas.
That
Even the
starts
workshop
tying
has
Kelly
to
up
be
more too, then.
Well, both of them are gonna have to be anyway, but if you recess
Right.
for the workshop.
Are we available at 8 o'clock on the 21st? This meeting won't last more than
I liked, for
15, 20
Braden's
minutes.
suggestion, we can call
Yeah,
it
they can
and
go
vote.
Yeah, I could call in on the 21st,
You're not
but I do have a
available.
doctor's appointment at 9:30 in Canyon.
I can do it. Let's just do that.
Or later in the day, as Jennifer suggested, maybe just have our special meeting at 3 o'clock. If that works for Kelly and
You can publish it. If we don't do it, no harm.
Publish the meeting.
do the workshop at 1, the meeting at 3 on the 20th.
I don't.
You good with the workshop at 1 and?
Get all done
meeting
the
at
same
3?
day, that frees up the next day.
Okay,
And the only reason obviously is that we save a week on posting it in the paper.
Yeah.
So I would be good with that workshop at 3 or 1 and the special meeting at 3. Does that work?
yes, works for me, work
On
for
the
you
20th.
on the 20th.
Okay.
Kelly, you okay with that?
Yep.
Could maybe bring some leftover pie in or
Who won?
Probably gone.
Anybody win?
There might be leftover.
everybody
pie.
that went Nate was the winner, right?
I saw those pies.
I don't know, the way I felt last night, I didn't feel like a winner. I didn't want to sleep.
So 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And that's, right now, that's the only thing on the agenda. It wouldn't mean we couldn't add something if we had to, but and you know what? Maybe that being said, that'd be a great opportunity for me to get a jump on posting that RFP for the sidewalk
ahead and do it.
project, if we could put that on the agenda as well, but up to you. Save
We
me a
can-
week,
We can put that on.
10 days, actually. So consideration of CDOT sidewalk RFP. That'll make those CDOT people happy because they're gonna call me after this meeting and want to know what we decided.
Mr.
And that can be after the attorney item.
And that's gonna be at,
And I'll get that RFP put in the board packet. So you guys can look at it before the meeting.
appreciate that. Okay,
Mr. Chair, I have a question about the workshop.
yes, ma'am.
Is this open to the, can the public participate? Or is it just for invited guests?
I believe this one would be just for BOCC and invited guests.
Thank you.
Can I make a suggestion on that workshop too?
You may,
You might reach out to the department heads and other elected officials just to get what they use. Cause like I know if I have a contract or something, I just emailed it to Clint for him to review. And then you can take that, I mean, you can
Write that in the
your list of stuff
scope
so
of
that you kind of
services.
know what you're
Great idea.
looking
Yeah.
at. I'll put them in there.
thank you. You knew I was gonna delegate that out to you, didn't you? All right,
And I would be okay with inviting them or inviting them to submit their suggestions or comments if they can't be there in person at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
that works. Great,
Yeah, it might be efficient if we invited them right at the beginning
Right.
to
Knock that
all
out.
that out. That way we're not wasting their time and send them on their way. And then figure out what that conglomeration looks like.
Mhm.
okay. This is where I do my Star Trek.
That's a good point.
Make it so.
Plan now?
Making it so.
I believe so. Anything else on the county attorney? Sir,
Is there anything else that would be helpful before then to prepare or gather?
I'll have some samples here from small counties. I'll have those.
we'll go through these. I was looking for the one you referenced I'm not sure.
It's in the email this morning.
Okay, so it wasn't in the packet.
It's, it is in your packet under silver clip RF.
And Braden's got an
Okay.
email to you directly just a minute ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think some of those samples would be very beneficial for us to go through, and maybe we can blend something together that works for us. And
Yeah, I'd really like us to concentrate on samples from small counties. I think that would be advantageous.
Yeah, I've got,
That's one thing I wanted to point out is this first sample is an employment agreement, so just. Be aware of that, that
Right,
the way we'll have heard this talked about, we're not employing a county attorney, but.
contract
that's right.
basis.
So the second one looks more like what I think a contract would look like, but there might be.
You're talking about the ones I sent.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just two different types.
Right.
Yeah, the other one's a mile an hour kind of thing. Almost. And I'll see what these other two guys send me. I hope they send them today.
okay, so I think any further action, we will defer to our meeting on Monday on the posting for the county attorney. Next item on our agenda then would be the discussion of the SAR improvements requests. Who brought that?
I did, it was what I brought up at the front of me, and I don't know if we need to talk anymore about it, I just want to make sure everybody.
I think-
That's okay. Go ahead.
Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry,
No, all right.
I was looking down when he said it.
okay,
Go ahead, let Tom go.
who,
Well, I asked for.
I guess my question is, who put it on?
I did, sir.
Okay,
I'm pulling up an email that's appropriate to that in just a second. So you guys, I believe both of you were in the CES meeting the last time we talked about moving forward with some work on the search and rescue building.
That's it.
Let's see here.
Having off topic.
And so the two issues at question, and this is historical, this goes back to September of 2022. We got all this can of worms, but it really boils down to, we own the building, we lease it to search and rescue. And the building has had and continues to need some work, and so the two items that had been requested last fall never got addressed through OEM was to clean and sanitize the air ducts. They have a cost estimate of $1,200 for that. And to also replace a hot water heater with an on-demand tankless system. And they have an estimate of that of $3,900 for a total of $5,100 if those prices haven't changed. And so I indicated to them that I would bring this to the board and see what we wanted to do about moving forward, at least on those two items initially. And then subsequently, we're also going to have to decide about how that building's going to get cleaned, what parts of it are cleaned by us, what parts of it are cleaned by the entities that are there. So we just need to clean up some stuff. I didn't mean clean up, sorry. We just, we need to figure out how we're gonna move forward with that, search and rescue building. To me, one of the big questions is, if we lease a building to somebody, do we have to clean it and do that stuff? I
Depends on
don't,
what the lease said.
I've never seen the lease, I'm just aware it's $1 a year.
Sounds like we need to let them do it then, $1 a year.
So I don't know. I don't know when that lease was written. My personal
You know,
commissioner opinion is that things are probably different in the real estate business today than they were when they wrote that lease. I know search and rescue is not a revenue generating entity, so I don't know that we should approach it like we're going to lease it to a bank or a grocery store or anything else. I don't know. Cindy Howard sent me an email and said that I know there used to be a county staff member cleaning the building twice a month. That included downstairs trash, bathroom, and main floor areas, not SAR, OEM, or BOCC offices. So I don't know, I guess we ought to have maybe, I hate to jump out and make a motion, but I can certainly do that, Mr. Chair, if you want, before we enter into discussion.
I would ask a question prior to that, if it's all right, sir.
You bet.
Are there issues with the existing hot water tank?
Yes. There are. Let me see, I don't think she lays out what the issues are in this particular email.
But that's included in the 39, there's some more to it, that's pretty big.
The 3,900 was to replace the original hot water heater with an on-demand tankless.
Renee or whatever they're called.
So I can't speak to the specifics. She said they have had trouble with it and that it has been leaking. I don't know what that means. No reason to replace a hot water heater because there's a leak somewhere down the line, but I don't think that was the case.
Yeah.
She does say the old water heater is a liability for the radio station. If it breaks down and releases water, it is adjacent and above the KLZR transmitter. So I told her I would get it on the agenda and see what the board wanted to do. It doesn't, if I may, sorry, I
You
keep
may.
trying to go back to these conversations. Cindy indicated, and I happen to agree, it doesn't make a lot of sense over the long haul to have a traditional hot water heater in there when we know that building doesn't get used near as much as other buildings would. So I think in that case, the instant hot water heater does make some sense, but or the on-demand, sorry.
So you can buy several hot water heaters for that. You can be aware they're not as, it's a liability, like sitting there not doing it.
Yeah. So in an effort to move forward, I would move that we authorize search and rescue to move forward on these two projects, not to exceed, I'm gonna say $5,500 because this bid was 6 months, 7 months old. For the cleaning the air ducts and replacing the hot water heater. That's search and rescue
I'll second.
to be paid for out of buildings and maintenance.
I'll second that too.
That was gonna be my question.
Yeah,
Mine too.
I saw the smoke rolling out of your ears. I figured that's what it was about.
All right, that's good.
So who's gonna do it? It's them. So they're
They
getting
have some
somebody to do it.
bids. I don't know who the bids are from.
So I do have a motion on the floor then to authorize, I guess, the OEM.
No, search and rescue.
Okay, to authorize search and rescue to move forward with cleaning and sanitizing the air ducts and the R&R on the hot water tank, replacing it with an on-demand, not to exceed $5,500. Any further discussion?
I think we're gonna see more use in that building. Robin Knappy in there. She's got quite a bit. She and Bill, Christie Bowen, they're at their office, and I think she'll spend more time in the office than they did. And using that conference room, it's worth getting going.
Anything from room or online?
I just have clarification. And you kind of clarified that for me, but in the beginning, you said that it was OEM that requested it.
No,
Did they
the original request went to OEM.
Oh,
And
wait,
it stalled out. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. I didn't make that real clear.
The original one was a long time ago, right?
September.
This is good, guys.
That's a little muddy because we have both entities in that
I know,
building, so.
Must be a ditch.
They're great.
We did OEM could be on the hook for that one.
Right. And the sheriff's posse also has an office up there too. They clean their own. OEM indicated they would clean their own. I think that's a conversation we need to have moving on, but it's not relevant to the motion, so I'll wait because I have another comment.
Anything further on the motion on the floor? All right, those in favor then of authorizing search and rescue to move forward with the RR&R of the hot water tank and the cleaning and sanitizing of the air decks, not to exceed $5,500. Signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank
Motion
you, Mr.
carries.
Chair. Appreciate it. I want to, well, I could wait and do it later. I have a question, but
In regards to some of that, that was mentioned, I believe some of that will be addressed at month-end meeting.
so I can bring it up on additional items. That's
Okay,
fine.
all right then. So that motion carried. That does take us to additional items of business.
If I may, sir, I want to ask if I can, and no disrespect meant at all, where did all the conversation come about an EOC building? This was the first we heard of it today, and here's why I asked that, because I've had a couple of people suggest to me that if we move forward with the Justice Center, we ought to look at making or allowing for, you did say EOC, correct? I don't want to.
Emergency Operations Center
Yeah.
/ office.
Right. This suggested that if we consider that at some point, we should consider tying that to the Justice Center. So that's why I bring it up.
We can still do that.
Well, not if we get money to build one at Search and Rescue.
No, well, I meant we could try getting another. I don't know if there's time to do it then. It came up at the last minute on it, and I just found out about it at the same time. So that's why I wanted to bring it up now, because we did it on Friday, and it was due deadline Friday night. So that's why if we'd have had that sooner, that would have been great. But I don't think it would have qualified. And the reason is that the congressionally directed spending is something, and it may, if we twisted it right, is that it affects the economic the economy of the state of Colorado, as well as or the citizens and the safety and all that. So we probably could have maybe finagled it in, but not together. It would have exceeded the amount.
Yeah, I just wonder if my faith in CDP or CDS money is not real
That's not,
high, but let's assume we did get that. Would we have the ability or the flexibility to include that on the Justice Center
we
thing?
could,
No.
and because it depends, we don't know where you could make it part of it. Still, you could make a wall, you could build a design so it would be part of the Justice Center. You sure could.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not being argumentative. I actually had a conversation with Robin about an EOC, and
Yeah, no.
as I remember, we talked about two things. One, adding it on to the SAR building, and two, roll it into the Judicial Center.
It could
So
be still.
That's why I asked that question.
You could still do that.
Yeah.
But you got the same chances as you do winning the lottery, but if you don't enter, you don't get it at all,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
And you're right. Who knows what will.
yeah,
But it's good to think about it, because in the strategic picture, you want to have the vision, and that's the vision. You'd like to have everything come together.
yeah, and maybe EOC is better suited to be attached to the search and rescue. I don't know about that. I'm just,
Yeah, and we can decide that once we get the money, if they're gonna do it, we can get an architect to really put pencil to it.
yeah. I will pull up that lease agreement too from search and rescue and revisit that a little bit. I have no idea what it says, so.
Kelly's already found it, she said.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
She has a minute.
she put a note down.
yeah, I don't have a dog in that fight. I just wanted to bring that.
No,
up
I
as a
know, that's a
possibility.
good point to bring up.
That's all I have, sir.
All right, anything from you, sir? All right. That'll take us to public comment. If anybody has a comment they'd like to make at this time, feel free to do so. Anything online?
Anybody
Okay.
online?
Hearing none. I will adjourn this meeting at 10:37 AM.
Very good. Now,
Go batten down the hatches for tomorrow blizzard. Probably won't do anything. They keep threatening 10 inches of snow.
So that meeting that I was gonna sit in on
yeah,
the House